Guy, how long have you been organist here?
I've been organist here for about 35 years, on and off. In the 1970s I was a chorister here, and then from there I sort of graduated to being sort of part-time organist here when there was nobody else available. And then in the 1990s I was asked if I'd do a sort of 6-month stint to sort of cover them over whilst they were looking for somebody else. They didn't find anyone else, and 20 years later I'm still here.
The organ at St Mark's was built in 1915 by J.W. Walker and Sons for the new church. It is generally accepted to be a fine example of an instrument in the turn-of-the-century Romantic style. Unusually, it has remained as originally built, with only the most minor changes over the years. How would you describe the style or tradition of the music that is played here?
I think for the most part the style is very traditional. It's Victorian into sort of the mid-20th century. There is nothing more wonderful than the choral tradition, particularly sort of the Victorian and the early 19th century music into the mid-19th century. That said, I think that there is the need here for some broader music making, something that would appeal to families and to the younger element.
Although an instrument of this size was aimed at enhancing devotional worship, it appears that its primary purpose was to encourage and improve congregational singing. The Parish magazine reports in August 1915 that the powerful tones of the organ stimulated the desire to sing, no longer that cold and lonely sensation as of an incompetent soloist before an army of expert critics. Do you think St Mark's could cope with blending in some more modern music, played on the organ or the piano or any other instrument?
Definitely, actually, because there are many times where I've decided that actually a particular song or a particular hymn is very percussive in feel, and actually it's rather better led from the grand piano than it is from the organ. And if you think of it in those terms, you might be able to encourage young people to actually start supporting that music making with additional instrumentation, and potentially some sort of youth choir or something that could actually be drawn to that style rather than perhaps the more traditional. So I absolutely think we could cope with it.
The basic construction of the organ is extremely robust, as was typical of Walker's work at the turn of the last century. However, it was difficult to repair due to its size, which has led to issues of its upkeep over the years. As organ consultant John Norman explained in 1993, it is a characteristic of the Romantic organ that the larger the organ, the more rewarding it is to play. As a result, the organ fully occupies the chamber allocated to it, and the space available for the mechanism is relatively restricted, with consequent difficulties of access for adjustment or repair. Are there any challenges in playing an old organ like this one?
There are. Beautiful instrument, undeniably the case. It is regarded as being one of the finest in the Diocese of Suffolk. That said, it is 100 years old next year. That means we have to consider whether it can be maintained for the next 100 years. It is a romantic instrument, has a beautiful round sound which fills this church, and in fact when you go back to all the reports when it was written at the time, it was very much a round, filling the church with a sound that encouraged people to sing. That is still true today, so that in a way is a joy. The challenge is that sometimes the organ isn't allowing us to do that anymore because it's starting to show its age.
It is still functioning, but this majestic instrument, which if it were built today would cost in excess of £350,000, is in need of full and complete repair work if this remarkable organ and precious asset is to remain as one of the finest in the Diocese of Southwark. It is one of the best examples of Walker's work during the period it was built, and we hope it can remain a functioning and glorious part of our church for years to come.
A decision needs to be taken. My personal view is that it's a fantastic instrument. It's part of our legacy to hand on to the next generation, built specifically for this church. It fits the acoustic and it leads well. To be without the organ here at St Mark's would be unrecognisable really as a church. I think we should maintain it, we should do whatever we can and take however long it takes to do it. I mean, I don't believe there's going to be something that's going to happen straight away, the drop of a hat, however wonderful that might be. But I think we have a duty to the next generation to see this last into the next century.